Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 22nd episode of the 5 Minute Major podcast, St. Louis. Another week of hockey in the books, another week of being 500, and I'm pretty sure I said that last episode.
Yep.
It's deja vu, yet again, Blues fans, and it is what it is. We knew this was going to happen. We're going to dive into recaps of the games. But after that, you're going to hear our first interview with Mr. Mike Meyer of Blue Notes Rising. He was amazing.
Great guy.
Him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super sweet guy. Just knows all things about Blues prospects. So you'll get a lot of information from him and see a lot of smiles from us. And then after the interview, you'll hear us talk about some prospect updates with Stenberg and Dvorsky, quick ones, and then we'll just kind of have final thoughts of the week, as we always do, and tell you how we feel. And I'm sure you guys probably feel similar. Josh, how are you today?
I'm good. Was really excited going into that Utah game, and we are a 500 hockey team. And I think Mike and I every week are like, maybe we're going to do it. And they just constantly remind us that we are a retool working our way towards the playoff team. But that being said, I think we are seeing there are glimpses of hope. There's a lot of pieces in play to make this team a very good team. We're just missing the complementary pieces and some of this young talent that I think will help us achieve that next level. But that being said, it's been a roller coaster of a season. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah.
But let's jump into the games.
Yeah. We'll go back to the first of our back-to-back with Calgary. These were playoff games, man.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, this was do or die. We mentioned it, and we did not die, man. We came out, we played so well in both of these games. This first one, we won 2-1. Super tight checking, playoff atmosphere. Bennington played outstanding. Parayko is just constantly the best player on the team, I think, this year, at least on the back end. He looks absolutely amazing, and he's about to just keep breaking career highs. He's one goal away. He's, halfway there on assists, and he's playing bulk minutes, man. We mentioned this last podcast. He's really taking advantage of his position. And honestly, he could be the captain of this team too, even though Shen is just as good, if not better. He's really become a superstar for the Blues.
Yeah, and I don't think we appreciate what we have in him enough. And I think we're starting to see a whole new level of play. And I think for those who have hated on him over the years, he is playing a physical defensive game. He is hitting people. He is moving people out of the way. I think you just need a little bit of Ryan Suter to teach him that side. But he has come into himself, and he will go down, I think, as one of the best defensemen in Blues history. And I really believe he will be the first defenseman to play 1,000 games in the Blue Note. And I am super excited about that. Hopefully, we can get him another cup before this is all said and done. But he doesn't look like he's going backwards. He looks like he's getting better in his older age, his middle age, I guess we could say. But I'm excited to see what Colton Parayko will do. And I'm excited to see the trajectory here of once Shen is at that point, or if Shen moves on from us, is Parayko your next captain? Is Thomas your next captain? I'm very interested to see how the dynamics of this team is going to be in the next couple of years.
What's funny is, I feel like most teams that win the cup have captains on the back end. That's probably just because that's all we know, right?
Yeah.
Like Barkov won it last year, but I'm just saying. Great game, yeah. 2-1. Came out winning a game we had to win. And guess what? The next one was against the Flames again at home, and there was some bad blood in this game. Calgary was feisty. The Blues were feisty. More playoff atmosphere. Kyrou, Shen, Holloway line, they've been the best line we've had on the team all year, and they were lights out in this game. I think they scored, they were involved in every goal.
Yeah.
Hofer played this game. He was great, only letting in one.
Game.
Good for him. So back-to-back games from your tandem is huge to move forward and finally win 3 in a row. And Parayko stayed hot and scored another goal. That was 3 goals in 3 games, 3 straight games. Yeah, and the Flames, I don't know, they looked bad. Like either we looked really, really good, or they were just super flat, and we were out manning them and outscoring them.
Yep.
Another must-win game, and we won it, and got us within 1 point of the wild card, and giving the Blues fans more hope.
It was
Incredible.
one where there was a definite change in mentality in this game, and I think it was everything that Monty is talking about, and they came to play. And they played in front of the home fans. They were fighting for every puck, and they were just skating hard. And I don't think we can say that about this next game we're getting ready to talk about. I think we looked flat right out of the gate in Utah.
Yeah. I was there. It was a cool trip. Salt Lake City's an amazing city, and the people are super nice. Their fans are loud, man. They're actually really, really fun to be around. The Blues game was just bad, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so confusing. Our top guys looked flat more than anything. Parayko was great. The defense was mostly great. I mean, Tucker, Suter, Parayko, Broberg. Falk had a couple instances where I was a little upset with him. And then the Shen line was like buzzing as always. I don't know what it is about them. I think Holloway just is a water bug and a buzzsaw, and he brings that to anybody he plays with. I'll just say it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back yet again. We're hanging around. We're there. Can't do it. Take a step back. Now we have to climb back again for the 8th time. We can't win 3 in a row. And that's just the definition of being 500.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We win this game. We're a point out. We are a single point out. Now we are sitting 3 points back with both of those teams having 2 games on us. So either you really hope that Calgary and Vancouver can both lose games. And Vancouver's doing this while they keep talking about their roster getting traded off. So I don't know what this team needs. Like, everything is still keeping us in this when we don't deserve to be in this right now. And I think we have to be at the point here soon where are we going to push for a playoff spot, or are we going to sell off and try to recruit some draft capital? Because that's going to be the biggest thing right now.
Yeah, and that's all determined probably after 4 Nations.
Yeah.
Or like right before, we'll be like, all right, how many points are we out? You know, we're sending off all our best players to keep playing, and the rest of us are going to sit and wait. Like, who's going to be ready to play? And if we're not ready to win, then just sell them off, you know?
I'm excited about the 4 Nations, but also I sit here and I look at Bennington, who we need to be lights out, is struggling. Like, it's 2 different sides of Bennington, and I love him, but he's not stealing us the games like he did last year. And he has to step up if we want any shot of making a playoff run. And we are not getting that currently. And I don't think it's time to replace him. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying he just has to be better. And as a whole, the team is substantially better in front of him. Did we have lapses in this game? Yes. Did the defense look a step behind in a lot of these plays? Yes. But the top players, yet again, that we have continued to talk about, are missing in key moments. Hence the reason Thomas, Buchnevich, and Neighbors sat for almost 9.5 minutes in that game. Thomas was center in the 4th line. Buch was playing on your 3rd line. They were sitting on the bench. Like Mike had tweeted out during the game, there were so many line changes, it was impossible for us to keep up with. Like, you're just like, who's coming out here? The only line that seemed to stay consistent was Shen, Kyrou, and Holloway. That's it. Even the D pairs were getting switched up. You had Broberg, Parayko, you had Falk playing with Tucker, like you had Suter, Parayko. Like, they're grasping for any ounce of like improvement right now. And that Utah game was just a failure. Like, I don't think there's any other way to say it. It's a failure. And Clayton Keller has our number. Like, he destroyed us. Logan Cooley was on a tear. And this team came in and they had only won 2 of their last 12 games, I'm pretty sure. So, like, pitiful. And, like, I'm frustrated. And I know this is the roller coaster of a 500 hockey team. But good Lord. Like, I don't know how you play 2 fought games against the Flames, and then you're just like, you know what, guys, I'm not feeling it. I don't know if I really want to compete tonight. You got outskated and outworked, and Benner couldn't steal you a game. And it just was a failure all around.
Yeah, I think it is a mental thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only answer. You just played like so well against a team you had to beat, and now you even with a day off in between with travel, like you still came out and didn't play hard at all. Like I don't know, it's such an interesting situation to be in,
and it's only going to get harder from here. We have Vegas, Dallas. Like
and
our
then we
schedule.
play Vancouver and Colorado. Like those are big games.
Yeah.
Like what are we talking about?
Yeah, nothing right now is going to get easier. We needed a big month in January, and I'm honestly going to say January's been a failure. The only thing, 2 games against Calgary kept us in it.
Literally kept us in,
and a confusing Vancouver team that you should
10 overtime losses.
Yeah,
Can't stand them.
Right now, the losses in Columbus are going to bite you. The losses to San Jose are going to bite you.
Buffalo.
The loss to Buffalo is going to bite you. It's the reoccurrence of last year all over again, where you're losing to teams you should have beat. And I think Columbus, rightfully so, is a very good team.
Oh, they're amazing.
The appreciation. But Buffalo, bottom tier team. You lost to them. San Jose, Celebrini seems to be the next version of Clayton Keller on having your number. So I don't know what you're doing there. And a team where the guys making star money, Buchnevich, Thomas, where are you? Because Thomas is throwing pucks in areas that don't make sense. It's just like he's just tossing it and hoping. Buddy. Like he used to be 100%. So smart about his passes, and they're just not.
I think maybe it has something to do with who he's playing with. He hasn't had like solid wingers in a long time.
Which he has Buch, and he says, I have all this chemistry with Buch, but Buch historically has been a better defensive forward. And here's the other thing, like Buch is streaky. He's always been streaky in his career. And that's this team is a 500 team. And I don't know why it still gets me wound up.
It's because we love him to death, and we'll do anything to get to the postseason.
Yeah.
We've felt how it feels to be on top, and you want to be there all the time. And when you're not, and you're fighting, and you're close.
Yeah.
That's when you really overanalyze as a fan or an analyst or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I just want to say props to Keller and Cooley and the rest of Utah. Showed out and dominated us, man. They looked so good. They're fast, man. That first line is disgusting. It's the one line, if we stop, we win. They produced all of the points. Another thing, Sundqvist, another bad penalty. The only reason he's taking penalties, buddy, it just now clicked, and it's the most obvious thing. He can't skate. He's constantly reaching. That's why he takes penalties.
Yep.
So it's not that he purposely is undisciplined, it's that he literally can't keep up. And it's unfortunate. And next year, the year after that, he'll be gone anyway.
And that's the thing. We love Sonny. Like, don't get us wrong. But I think
we're just at the
point as a person. But right now, just at this point in his career, like he's either an extra man that's not playing every night.
He's an extra man.
Locker room guy. He's good for the locker room. He was great when Shen was trying to get that hat trick the other night. Great culture guy. But he's not a guy that can play every night. And if he's willing to take a little contract, I'm willing to keep him as a healthy scratch player. Because I think he's better than some of our other healthy scratch players. But
maybe.
He's a bottom tier winger now. He's not a center.
No.
He's the days of him being a great center is just gone. And that's the thing. He was always a bottom six guy.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's a winner. He's won twice now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just he's here because everyone loves him, and that's fine. It's just we're in between that stage where it's ready to move on to the younger guys, and he's just filling in right now.
Yeah.
One more thing on this game before we go to the Mike Meyer interview. 1 for 4 on the power play. The power play goal we scored was real nice by Neighbors. Another play set up by the Shen line. You're welcome. And we had 3 power plays that were gifted, and I was at this game and I watched, and I was in awe about how bad the calls were. I was on Utah's side. I was like, these are terrible. I don't know how you guys are still winning this game. Like, the Blues should be up like 6-4 now.
Yeah.
Like, we had 3 free power plays. We had 1 shot on those 3 power plays in the third period. That's never going to cut. And we've talked about this for 50 episodes of our 22 episodes. Power play's bad for 3 years now. And it is what it is. Okay. Yeah, we're super proud to have Mr. Mike Meyer on. We are going to send you to him now. Be sure to stay tuned, listen to the whole thing, please. He's truly amazing. It's like 35, 37 minutes long. And we'll see you after this. Hello, everyone. We are pleased to be here with Mr. Mike Meyer. He is a very passionate and insightful voice behind Blue Notes Rising. It's a dedicated platform that covers the Blues and the exciting world of Blues prospects. He is going to bring Blues fans closer to the next generation of hockey stars in St. Louis, and he does bring good in-depth analysis and breakdowns. Mike, we're excited to have you. You're our first guest.
We love it.
We're just here to have a great conversation, talk hockey, talk about you and Blue Notes Rising, and of course, any questions we may have for you, or if you have for us, we'll just answer away. And I love it. Nice to have you.
I'll say, I'm terribly sorry that I'm your first guest. So
we love it.
No, we're beyond excited. Seriously, like, this is really cool for us. Finally, someone who can provide a little bit more in-depth information and with some credibility too. So cool.
Yeah.
Super
if you want to, we can kind of start off here with, so what made you get into hockey? Like, where did your love of hockey come from?
Man, so born and raised St. Louis, and I think, anything that anybody gets into here in St. Louis, it starts off with like a relative, your dad, whatever that it is. And in this case, it's absolutely that. It's my late father. He was born and raised diehard Blues fan. The year they came out, it was the year that he was born, and he said it was the best birthday gift to himself that has ever been gifted. So, I got into it here with my dad. We were constantly just watching the games. For a period of time, he had season tickets. And so we would go down and we would just sit season tickets and just be able to enjoy it. He got in right as the Blues started getting David Perron, TJ Oshie, Eric Johnson, those young guns. Yeah. You had those guys coming up. And I said, well, what is this? This is awesome, man. Like, who are these young guys? And, it was just instant love from there. I could actually feel like I was following the game.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite player? Obviously, you can tell I love David Perron.
Perron was always one that caught my attention. I think the physical play, the finesse. I mean, like, it was hard to not love TJ Oshie.
Love Oshie.
Start. I go back and I've watched a ton of old video. Be able to watch the Brett Halls, Jeff Courtnalls, but man, my guy. Pierre Turgeon here.
Yes.
That's one of the tops. Him, Pavel, Dimitra. I mean, that old school era, and I say old school, I'm terrible, for the generation here before me, but that generation was before. Man, I still don't. I look at some of these rosters, I'm like, how did you not win the cup? I don't get it.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Took us way too long to get there, but I'm happy that we finally made it there. And it was kind of a whirlwind, but hey, I'll take it. Hopefully, with these prospects coming, we will be getting there sooner than later again.
Yeah.
What made you focus on the prospect side? Like, what drew you to covering the Blues prospects?
Well, I mean, you look at this prospect pool. I mean, it's an exciting time to not cover it. So. But I mean, in all reality, like, I think it's such an exciting thing to be able to keep track of these players. Like, I love looking at on the road to the show, the work ethic that these kids are putting in, the paths that they have to be able to take, whether they're coming from overseas, they're coming from a random high school, college, that you're like, well, where the heck did that guy come from? It really sparked my interest when you hear of a guy like Colton Parayko, who was coming out of again, they were talking like he came out of the middle of nowhere. And so I had to do some research. I'm like, well, why wasn't this guy on people's radar? I don't get it. And so you just start to realize, he just wasn't on folks' radar very well. And so for me, it was, shoot, let's start covering some of these folks. Like it's so interesting to start looking at the paths that these folks have to be able to take. And I think it's just something that I love to be able to bring as some sort of like a sense of education and coverage too.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like Colton Parayko and even like guys like Jeremy Swayman up in Alaska, like just random places that people don't think about, the scouts are the ones that are kind of going out there to these random places and finding these guys. I mean, would you ever want to do a scouting job like that?
If my wife would let me, I've got I've got 3 kids under the age of 7.
Yeah.
So you're not busy at all, is what you're saying.
No,
yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yes, yeah, plenty of time. You know, they're being preoccupied right now with pizza and Disney Plus. So
I love that.
So you gotta do.
Yeah, I would love to be able to work my way here up at that point, be able to do some scouting. For a little while, I was media credentialed when I was working at my days with the hockey writers. And so it was fantastic just to be able to talk to some of those folks behind the scenes in the locker room and whatnot. And so phenomenal, just surreal time with my life. But I think until my kids get a little bit older,
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't blame you. That's you got your hands full, but you seem to be on it all the time. I feel like you are never missing a goal. It's pretty awesome to follow you on Twitter or X, what we're calling it now.
Yeah.
But it's been fun to like, especially during the World Juniors, you were able to stay on track of all of that, and it was fantastic. Because I was trying to watch games and work, and I was like, all right, what's Mike saying on X right now? Because I'm not going to see it.
My wife was like, this tournament's how long? Like, hey, I'm sorry, there's 3 games today that really I got to pay attention to. And just, so yeah, it was a lot of mobile viewing, but we made it work and we came out alive on the other end. So,
hey, we appreciate you for putting that work in. Yeah. And, I think a lot of people do. That being said, so I know you started up the Blue Notes Rising, and I know you're doing like a subscription service. So like, tell us about that. Like what's going on with that? We want to get that out there. We want to spread the word as well on our podcast for you. So what do you got?
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is one that, I mean, it's still very much so in its infancy stage. This is essentially beta year to figure out what's working, what's not working. I just started this back here November 1st. But it's something that I just try my best to announce breaking news consistently. I'm working to be able to put together weekly and monthly performances, top performances, prospect deep dives, player interviews. Some of those features will obviously be paid viewers only, but I'm working to try and do a good mixture of the two so that folks can be able to see what it's like to become a paid viewer, what's like, just what's it like to have a basic subscription. And so I'm already seeing a ton of growth, which is amazing. I wanted to obviously keep that up, keep it growing. And I'm still, again, currently exploring just different options for reoccurring articles, ideas, and prospect coverage, again, whether you're a paid subscriber or not.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I need to sign up. That was my goal this weekend. Now that I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off, is to definitely sign up, because I'm excited for it because of how much you've grown and everything on Twitter and X. Like, it's phenomenal. So we will definitely be in your corner supporting you. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. So when it comes to Blue Notes Rising, was that before or after we had acquired the Offer Sheet Boys? I think it was after, right?
This was after. Yeah.
Okay. So have you done any pieces on them, like through Blue Notes Rising yet?
Not as of yet. Those were 2 guys who I really strongly debated, like, do I consider them and count them as my prospects or not? And they kind of just threaded that fine line where I'm like, okay, I could technically still count them. I really could. But they're playing with the big boys. We'll leave it. Some of the other guys who were coming up, Zach Balduke, these guys I was still covering up until that point where like they're a full timer. You can be able to count age, number of games played, and that's usually what I try to be able to do. But if they're a consistent mainstay here, like within the NHL, I'm like, okay, these folks have graduated. Like they're not really going to be sent down here at this point. Balduke could still be sent down, but in all sense and purposes, he's not a prospect here anymore.
No. So were all Holloway and Broberg on your radar before any of this offer sheet stuff happened? Like
outside of just being a fan of them, outside of just being a fan of them, you know, I was like, dang, Edmonton's got some folks. You know, Broberg broke out in the playoffs, and Holloway, you could see he was definitely a guy who I was like, man, if he gets some extra ice time, I don't know, but it really seems like it's clicking for him now. You know, he was one who exceeded and excel just in all areas coming up. And this was a spot where it's like, okay, I think if he really starts getting his feet underneath of him in the NHL, this is a guy to watch out for. And I think the Blues are just right there, just reaping all the rewards. Thanks, Edmonton, for the growing.
Which, hey, I mean, I feel you got to feel for some of these prospects in Edmonton because, all right, I'm trying to get in the lineup where McDavid is, a Draisaitl is, a Skinner is, like, you can go on, like, and especially on the defensive end, like, they've kind of cornered themselves with some contracts where these prospects are just sitting there. And I think we're seeing that happen in New Jersey right now where they have a prospect, one of their top defensive prospects is saying, like, I want traded. I don't see a future on this team. And I think for you, and I think with what the Blues are doing, I don't feel like any of our prospects are really at that point where they feel like there's not a future here for them.
No. And it might be here come the future because, I mean, at this point, you've only got so many spots on the table that you can be able to fill up. And right now, just to be completely honest, there's too many puzzle pieces. There just are. And that's a good problem to have, you know, because if a guy off the top of my head, you know, if an Otto Stenberg for some reason just did not pan out, we've got other guys. If for some, you know, Scott Perunovich has not panned out, you know, and unfortunately it's due to injury. But again, if somebody were sort of go through that situation, they've got other guys who you can absolutely say next man up and feel comfortable for the organization, bad for the player.
Yeah, I think we always have that debate about Scott Perunovich because, I mean, Hobey Baker winner, dominated in the AHL. Everyone really kind of thought he was going to be the next guy, but injury plagued. Also, I think the size factor. And I think that's what I was kind of concerned at first with Theo, but he's grown a little bit. And Lindstein has 6'1" is a perfect size for a puck moving defenseman, in my opinion. But I'm excited. And I think we're seeing the benefits of drafting well and drafting in quantity, which I think we're going to now face the neglect of that here soon, having to trade some picks away to get some Holloways and Brobergs, but I'm willing to deal with that. And I think from what you've talked about, there's a lot of puzzle pieces. So I don't think there's any reason to be concerned at this point.
Right. Nope, I wouldn't be. I mean, again, it's going to stink to be able to move some of these guys away, you know, because I've enjoyed covering a lot of these folks. And, you know, if you're able to move some of the guys who are really good point producing junior players, okay, so they're seeing something that I may or may not be, that these guys are going to be good junior players, but not so much in the NHL. I mean, you look at a guy, Morgan Frost, man, he looked like he was going to be the next big stud. And I don't know if it's a case of the environment that he's in or whatever that it is. He just hasn't panned out the way that I thought he was going to. Same thing again, you know, Dominic Bach.
Yeah.
Just never panned out.
That was a guy that I was so upset when we traded him to Carolina. I was like, this guy's going to be great. And then you really haven't heard much about him since.
Nope. Going back, Ty Ratty.
Oh,
everybody
good job started on Ty
Ratty was my guy. I was super excited. I had followed him through juniors. I followed him through the minors. And then he just crushed my heart when he got to the NHL, and it just could not get put together.
He was always a guy, when I played those EA games whenever I was younger, he was always a guy who would pan out being a 95 overall and 50 goal scorer. And like, this dude rocks, man.
I love that.
You just mentioned Ty Ratty. That is the funniest thing.
Ty Ratty and I it's been my vendetta. Mike is like, he's a bust. And I was like, I'm still not ready to give up on him. I still believe it.
Yeah. Chicago Wolves legend.
But that being said, we talked about you covering the World Juniors.
Yeah.
What was your take on some of our prospects? What did you see? What did you think about them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll even lump in last year's performances here too. I mean, how can you not be excited for this crop of players? You know, you had big returners, Delbor Dvorsky, Theo Lindstein, Stenberg, Jiricek, I mean, those, if you just had those guys right there, you're like, dang, that's a good crop of folks. But then you start lumping in Stancil, Lindstein, you start naming off more and more players. And you're like, criminy, how many folks are you guys? I think those top performers were absolutely just dynamite.
Yeah.
Lindstein showed his ability to not just be the point producer. Like everybody just thought, okay, he's just gonna be a point producing defenseman. And he may or may not be here in the NHL. He may be a little bit of a lower grade. The names elude me here right now of what the comparison was here with him in the Jeremy Rutherford article. I like him to a little bit more of like a Jonas Brodin.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's who he reminds me a lot here of. You had Stancil, obviously play. I mean, he got a lot of attention, and I think his bar raised here at this point. Armstrong even said, this is a guy who had 7 goals, 10 points in 7 games in the juniors. Okay, what else are you going to do? We're going to expect a little bit more here from you. Juracek, man, I just want him to stay healthy. The bar is not very high for him right now. It's just, dude, just stay healthy. Show me that you're a competent defenseman, and we'll circle back next year and we'll go from there. That's all I like. But I did like the fact that you were able to see that he just got stronger each and every single game. He made his fair share of mistakes. Don't get me wrong. He made his fair share of mistakes, but this is a guy who just did not play very well. Sorry, guys. He had, I think, 2 games when he returned from injury that he just, what do you expect? He got then thrown into the World Juniors and just says, here, just go play. But then he got thrown into the second line. He wasn't counted on to be the guy. He was just make the safe plays. That's all we need to do. And that's what he did. Dvorsky, 7 points, 5th in goals, despite playing only 5 games when everybody else played 7. Come on, and unfortunately he had such a light crew. There was no way that team was going to be able to make it to the goal. Unfortunately, it just wasn't going to happen. But man, he looked really good.
He was outnumbered every game because it was like, well, if we shut down Dvorsky, there's not much else they're going to do. And he bumper spot on the power play. You were hoping if the one timer didn't go in, it was probably going out of the zone because no one else could seem to pick up the puck for him, which was sad. But also it showed that he can put a team on his back and make it a competitive team.
Right. I wanted to see some. I mean, you can be able to get super nitpicky. I did want to see maybe a little bit more intensity from him throughout the tournament, but it was in that same intensity that we saw in that final game here from him. It's not sustainable. It's just not. You'll expect that that's the intensity you're going to see all tournament long, but that's what I want to be able to see. On the flip side of that, again, you're getting super nitpicky here, but Otto Stenberg. The man was a one-man wrecking crew out there in the offenses. In almost every single part of the ice. And that was the part that really just kind of turned me off a little bit about him. Was like, dude, like you have such a loaded team around you. Like you don't need to be crashing the net and be able to put the entire team on your back. Like you have such a loaded roster. Just slow down. Just slow down. And again, that's just going to come with time and maturity. It just is. But if there was just some small little nitpicky stuff, that's some of this, again, the intensity, whether it's too much or too little at times, I think that's where it kind of turned me off a little bit on some of these prospects just during a tournament.
Yeah. I think the guy that we talked about that, like, he was just there. He really didn't make a whole lot of mistakes was Colin Rolfe. I think for us, like, he's still young. He was that late addition to that USA team. And I think we'll see, because he still has a shot to be on that team next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm interested to see if he will be playing for USA again. But I think a lot of these guys, we're going to see some growth next year. And I think Juracek really should have a shot at being that top pair guy. I don't know where you're kind of thinking, but I think he might step into that role next year for them.
Yep. Between him, I really, again, as long as he can be able to stay healthy, he can still be the guy. Stancil here again, I believe you're going to be able to see a lot. Andre Kosh, who was a 4th line player for them, I think he's got a lot more offensive upside and capability. So I think you're going to actually see a little bit more just simply due to age progression that you're going to be able to see a little more of like a top 6 role and responsibility for him.
Yeah. When it comes to Kosh, like you might consider him under the radar for us or just for anybody. Do you have any other under the radar prospects that we might not have seen in the WJC that you can tell us about, or was that kind of just the whole pool?
No, so I got a couple. Thomas Mersick. He's a guy I would absolutely keep an eye on. This is a guy who reminds me, I'm not trying to put it too hot. He reminds me of Jordan Kyrou a lot. This guy, he is very fast. A lot of offensive upside. I chatted with him a couple months ago, and he told me, he's working with Chris Thorburn regularly to improve on his defensive game. And I think that was like one of his biggest downsides. If he was a little more of a well-rounded player, I mean, you're talking about a first-round pick, easily first-round pick in him. But they're constantly breaking down his recent games, finding ways to be a better player and better all-around player. And I think he's a player who's good at everything offensively and that you want from your forward. He's a strong shooter, passer, puck handler. He recently, where was he from? He was moved from Medicine Hat. Okay. This was a loaded Medicine Hat squad, and so he was a very supplemental offensive player. And I need you to keep that in reference because he still put up 62 points in 63 games.
All right.
And so now he's with Prince Albert Raiders, and he's already matched his career high in the WHL in goals, putting up back-to-back 23-goal seasons now. And he's at 53 points heading into the weekend, 53 points in 36 games. And you're talking to a guy who could very easily flirt with 96 points this season. And when I talked to him, I asked him, obviously, these guys are watching the NHL every single day. Like, who do you like to be able to watch? Who do you like to emulate your game here after? If you try to be able to make a comparison, and he said Kyle Connor.
I'm fine with that. I'll take that any day. That's awesome.
That is perfect. Top 5 in the league in goals this year, Kyle Connor. Unreal.
Right. So I think if he gets some work, he's going to be definitely a spot who doesn't obviously just shoot straight to the NHL. He's going to need some AHL time. Again, work on his defensive side of the game. But he's a guy who I'm more than happy with just letting him just sit and just marinate and just grow and develop, man. I'm totally cool with that. Back on the blue line, Lucas Fisher. He's the captain for starting a Sting. He's averaging around like a half a point per game. Totally cool with that from a defenseman. But I really like just his reliability, just a smooth skating defender who I think has the potential to be able to turn into a very strong, just two-way guy who can still be able to be a number 3-4 guy. I don't think, if the puzzle pieces don't all come together for him, he's just going to be, that third pairing defenseman. But I think he's got some more development still within him. But he's a guy who, like Ralph, is, if you're not really hearing from him or hearing his name called, he's doing the right stuff. Mm-hmm. He's just very, very quiet. And in a sense, this is a guy who reminds me a lot of Matt Kessel. Okay. You don't hear Matt Kessel's name on the call, regardless of if you're listening to the TV or the radio broadcast. You're not hearing from him. But then you're watching the video and you're like, yeah, he made that play. Yep, he blocked that shot. Cool. So that's a Lucas Fisher, man.
Okay. I did have one question about a guy. It's our guy that's overplaying in the MHL, the VHL, and the KHL. I'm going to butcher his name.
Kodoroki.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your take is on him.
So he was drafted late for a reason.
Okay.
He's got some work. And you got to be able to think that, he's playing in the MHL again for a reason. He's in the juniors. He's got to be able to work on his defensive side and his skating for a decent amount. He's definitely seen some growth. He got bumped up here to the KHL, very limited time here. I believe one of my main guys that I talked to here about the KHL action, I believe he saw limited action with Demidov, which is one of the top players here in the Russian leagues. And if he's playing with him and they're comfortable with him, I'm cool with that too. Cool. He could very well be a late round steal that the Blues see. I don't know if it's going to be, the same. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the guys. Who's the guy from Philly? Mativi.
Bichkov?
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think we're going to have our own version of that, but it'd be nice. I really like him to become, hopefully one day, even a bottom 6 forward with some scoring upside.
Yeah.
But we'll see what it's like once he officially kind of maybe comes overseas.
Yeah. I think that's been the fun thing, that we have a lot of guys in a lot of different leagues, and finally seeing like Otto, for example, come over to North America, I think it's going to be huge for their growth. And that being said, what do you think about Theo? Do you think Theo's going to be following behind here soon to come over? Or do you think the roster down in Springfield's too stacked right now for him to have a spot?
Yeah, I think it's a little too stacked. Right now, the Blues, I don't even believe, are looking at least one more season overseas before he comes back over. I mean, again, you've got plenty of guys right now who just, they can't get the ice time. It's just too stacked. And I would much rather him just stay in the SHL. The SHL, in my opinion, does a better job of turning out defensemen than what it does forwards. Okay. They do a better job once they come over. Stenberg is a guy who was just consistently getting bottom 6 minutes, despite moving teams. Malmo was supposed to be able to give him a little bit more of a higher ice time, and I don't know necessarily if that was because he's younger and they weren't really as much as interested in the development stage and getting him the ice time, or if they're like, no, just keep playing the bottom 6 minutes, kid, and you'll get there when you get the chance. Yeah. At the very least, now he's going to be in the AHL, and I would like for him to be able to get top 6 minutes, but you sometimes look at this roster, and I don't know where you get the minutes from. He's going to be competing with Simon Robertson. That to me is where he takes his likely spot, but that's a third line pair. So they're going to have some really good, fun options to be able to mix and match, because they've got on their top line is a good veteran mixture. As this is, I believe it's the third youngest squad in the AHL.
Okay.
Like very, very young squad.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about a guy who likes Stenberg, just take your time, man. Just take your time. I'm not looking for you to be a world beater just right off the bat. And I think, and I'm hoping that that's what they're trying to tell this kid. Like, you don't need to come in here and take this team on your back. You just don't.
Yeah.
So, out of the AHL players and any prospects we might have mentioned, do you think any of them are going to be NHL ready within the next year or two? Like, are the AHL guys closer to maybe make that room for Stenberg, or is it going to just be like straight up Stenberg's here and then he's up? Or are we going to, make some moves that we might not expect?
It wouldn't surprise me to see them make some moves. You've got Silvergard right now, who's a really dynamic Swedish winger. Mm-hmm. He's been playing along here with Dvorsky and then Koskimaki as well. That's a guy who has done. He's one that really intrigues me a lot. Yes. He's quick, become a very reliable here in all 3 zones, just wicked shot. And if you talk about, a junior player taking time in the top league, he was over in Finland playing in their top league, mostly, again, bottom 6 minutes, but then he comes over here to the AHL and he's kicking ass. So, he's a guy who I think will be able to push for a bottom 6 role. I don't really necessarily know what his ceiling is just as of yet. He reminds me a lot, though, of Sobotka.
Okay. So, hey, that's a blue-collar Blues right there that I think most fans would be very happy with.
That's who this kid's going to be. Very big, blue-collar. He's going to bring his lunch pail to work every single day. Same thing with Dylan Peterson. This is a guy who could be able to make his way up. I don't see him being obviously a top 6 forward. He's just not that kind of guy. He did play that way whenever he was playing in the NCAA. He was playing on the top line at times with Celebrini. Yeah, he was just one of those line mates. So I don't know if he's got the capability to be able to play top line minutes here in the NHL, but I think he's going to be a very reliable bottom 6 forward who's going to remind you a lot of David Backes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard a lot of comparison to him to David Backes, and then I know a lot of people out there wanted Trent Frederick. I feel like he is a homegrown essential kind of piece of that we don't have to trade for, and you're going to get the grit every night from him, and he's a big body. So I think if we can wait it out, I know a lot of fans have talked about, I want Frederick, and we've even talked about wanting Trent Frederick. I think Peterson could be that guy for us down the road as the bottom 6 guy that, as you move on from the Radek Foxes and the Sundqvist like options there, that you can add to the bottom 6.
Yeah, and both of those 2 guys are going to be right there. I mean, and they're going to be able to come alongside, obviously, the next wave that's coming up here with Snuggerud and Dvorsky. I mean, both of those guys I think going to be within the Blues, even just their third line, 2/3 of their third line next year.
Yeah. I think now that you mentioned Snuggerud, what do you have on Snuggerud? What are you thinking? Is he signed? I know I was a little concerned that he wasn't going to sign here with us after going back to school. I think there were those rumors, but what can you tell us about Jimmy, and we'll kind of go from there.
So I think those rumors were and the hesitancy, and until he puts pen to paper, everybody's like, look, we're not the Rangers. We're not the Panthers. We're not Toronto. We're not like, this is St. Louis, man. And like, let's be real. So I get it. Trust me. Like, I think until he puts pen to paper, I'm still going to be slightly nervous, but it definitely seems like he is ready to come to St. Louis whenever that it is. I loved his devotion, to his current team. Absolutely love it. He wants to be able to win a championship and be able to bring that championship here to his team. And regardless if I don't know if you guys have paid attention, he's one of 4 captains for that squad. I don't understand the logic that's there.
Every night we're rotating captains, it seems like, in Minnesota, and it's a really confusing dynamic, but
yeah, Minnesota did that not too long ago with Gaborik, Dimitra, and a couple others, when they had the red jerseys. So who knows? It is a little weird, though. I guess they don't want to put A's on anybody's chest.
I don't get it. But man, I'm still trying to figure out what his true ceiling looks like, because this is the guy, you see him internationally and the dude's a megastar, with that bomb of a shot that he's got. I love it, and the fact that he's able to be a line driver and a goal scorer and a playmaker. But I'll go back to his dedication here to his team, but then also to his craft. He wanted to be able to work amongst players his own age and continue to work on his leadership. He wanted to work on his defensive side of his game. He wanted to be able to work on his puck handling. He just wanted to be able to continue to work with guys in a situation that he was comfortable with, and just to keep growing. And again, he wants to be able to bring a championship there. I say, man, go for it. You do it. And if it's going to be in St. Louis, all the better.
Yeah, I think we're excited, and I agree with you. I think we were talking before we kind of got on here. Just, he does have a lot of penalty minutes, which I think that'll be something he's got to clean up, because which I think that comes with maturity and new opportunities. But I think he does have the potential to be that missing piece in ways that we are missing. I don't think we have as many of those one-time shots as we used to. I think Holloway has solved that problem for us in a lot of ways, but we don't have that David Perron that you're like, he's going to park right there and I'm going to feel confident about him taking that shot every time.
I think we do. It's going to take time. It's going to take time, but I think it's Zach Bolduc.
Okay.
Zach Bolduc's got a shot on him. And if you've got a potential chance that you can be able to throw Bolduc, Dvorsky, Snuggerud all on a power play unit together and just spread them out and just say, good luck.
Yeah.
Because one of these guys is going to be open and we're going to find the other one and you're going to see a one-time shot and good luck.
Hey, we'll take it.
All right. I'll shoot the last question for you. The Blues are on a 2-game win streak as of today, back-to-back against the Flames, 2 huge wins. Do you think we're going to sneak in? I know we're only a point or 2 out. We're going to Utah tomorrow. Big game against a team that struggles at home. Do you think we have a shot to kind of go on a streak and make it?
So I was talking, if you would have asked me this last week, and which I was asked this last week, obviously not by you guys, but I was asked last week, do you think the Blues are going to make it? And I said, listen, man, it pains me to say this, but no, they're not going to make it. You talk to me here tonight, Friday, January 17th at 7:15 p.m. and I am cautiously optimistic. I am one pinky toe in the water, and I'm just, you got to show me what each game's gonna be a battle for them, and they have to be consistent. But the part that I get worried about is that this team has to feel like that they're playing a playoff game every single night, and they have to bring that intensity. And I don't know if they have that intensity in them to play that for the entire second half of the season, and then to go into the playoffs and say, okay, keep going. Like, holy crap!
it's always those teams that like you got to get on a run, but you got to get on the run at the perfect time where you're not emptying the tanks. And I think my concern is we're going to have to rely on our goalies to be almost perfect going in. And that's the big question mark. And I think with that in the playoff run, Mike and I were talking, Dvorsky. The debate is we need a third line center really bad.
Yeah.
Because we love Sonny, but Sonny just doesn't have the legs anymore.
Yeah.
Does Dvorsky get that shot? I know the Armstrongs continue to say we don't want to rush him. But I also don't know if they want to go out and trade some of this capital and prospects we have or the price for an additional center. So,
right.
Dvorsky coming up, you think, or do you think he just sits in the AHL for the rest of the season?
Ask me come trade deadline and I'll have a better answer for you. But
okay.
Because it really just depends what the team's doing. If they're in a playoff contention, I think they're more than happy to let him sit and just keep growing here in the AHL, which is, I think, ultimately going to be the best thing for his development.
Yeah.
But if they're not in it and they're ready to be able to sell off some pieces, I think there may or may not. I think they should. I don't know if they're willing to, and I'm sure that they will at least listen to offers for Brandon Saad. I think they should look to be able to move a Sundqvist. I think that, any of those extra little pieces, I think they should entertain moving them. That would absolutely give time here for, again, a Jimmy Snuggerud whenever the season's ready and conclude it here for him, for a Dalibor Dvorsky, for a Silvergard, be able to make his way up, see what he's got. I think they absolutely should entertain those options. But if they're vying for a playoff spot, I don't see Armstrong making those moves at all and just saying, okay, young guys, it's on you, show us your stuff. I think he's a lot more comfortable with saying, okay, we're not in the playoff spot. We'll give you your cup of coffee. We'll see what you guys got, and we'll be able to hit it for next season.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks,
this has
Mike.
been great, Mike. And hopefully we can do this again. I think this has been a lot of great insight, and it's been a pleasure working with you. You're class act. I can't say enough good things about you. So thank you again. And Blues fans, this is your guy that knows everything about your prospects. Follow him, and stay tuned. Can't say enough to thank Mike for that great interview. A lot of info, a lot of great knowledge. Please follow him on social media. And please look at Blue Note Rising. I am a new subscriber. I love it. Great articles. Much love. And hopefully we'll have him on again to talk more Blues prospects.
For sure.
But talking about Blues prospects, Otto Stenberg comes over to North America, plays in his first AHL hockey game. 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist, and that assist was on a Dvorsky goal, I do believe, or his goal was assisted by Dvorsky. It was one of the two.
I think it was Dvorsky assisted.
Dvorsky assisted.
Really? Yeah.
So great first game in North America. Love to see it. Hopefully this is the same trajectory that we saw with Dvorsky, where he just clicks and just keeps maturing. And if that's true, Blues fans get excited. Okay. Following that up, Dvorsky is on 6 points in his last 5 games. So Blues fans, they are coming. Hang in there. I'm excited. I can't wait for it. But our prospects are coming. And like Mike talked about, there are plenty of other prospects that are under the radar that the NHL might not be thinking are going to stick. But Mike has a suspicion that I think we're going to have some really good guys coming down the railroad tracks here. That being said, I think Mike and I are just super excited about these prospects coming. And I think this team is going to write the way one way or another. By the end of the season, we're still going to be in it. I don't know if we're a playoff team, but they're going to at least have some exciting games down the back end stretch of the season. I think wrapping it up, I think Parayko is a superstar, and us Blues fans, we have to realize that. Love him, support him. He's doing everything for this team right now. And I think Tyler Tucker, I had my question marks about Tyler Tucker, but since going down to the AHL, getting that confidence, he has changed the mentality in him that he is becoming reliable. He's never going to be a flashy guy, but I think he's a guy that can play some gritty, tough minutes for us and also hold the other team accountable because he's not going to let things slide. He's going to protect his teammates, and he puts on a pretty good fight when he gets a chance.
Yeah, it's amazing what Ryan Suter can do to you. I think playing with him really lets him kind of be free, do what he was doing in the AHL, scoring goals, winning fights.
Yeah.
Awesome third-line defenseman, and he's super young. And I've totally changed my opinion on him. I thought he was not very good last year. I mean, he's just trying to make a name for himself. Now he's like just becoming reliable, like you said. It's really nice to watch. You got to get more from your top six.
Yeah.
Just effort wise, I think the points are there. They're all of them are in the top 5 on the team at points, but the effort in those big games needs to be there consistently. Monty's mentioned that. Can we ever win 3 in a row? We will see. We have back-to-back against Vegas, like we mentioned, and that's going to be brutal. And then we play Dallas. So it's time to lock in again. The rest of this month is playoff games for us. This is our playoff games. And then, the Shen line is our best line. That's the last thing I'll say. Holloway and Kyrou have some sort of crazy chemistry, and I love seeing it. I'd say Hollywood might be the best player on that line. Right now, at least. And Kyrou's just potting the goals because he's so open.
Oh, yeah.
Holloway makes those opportunities happen with such a good stick, dude. Like, he stick checks everybody with ease and makes crispy passes. And, those guys are fun to watch. Hopefully we can all kind of figure it out together. And when the young guys come up, it kind of really congeals into something great. Right now we're just almost good. So,
But that being said, guys, thank you again for helping us reach 22 episodes. Thank you to Mike Meyer for joining us for our first interview and hopefully many more to come. That being said, we love you guys and thank you from the bottom of hearts from the 5 Minute Major podcast of STL. See ya.
Much love. Let's go Blues.